Want to call the meeting to order for this evening's meeting of the East Greenbush Central School District, February 16th. This evening we have all members present. We have Ms. Curtin virtual and Mr. Mann will not be present this evening. With that, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. First order of business is we have our Columbia Student Council, Ryan and Emma. Welcome. Did either of you go to DPS? Oh, you went to Green Meadow. How about you, Emma?
Oh yeah.
Red Mill. Okay.
Yep. This is
I
my
say
first
welcome
time.
home, but
Oh, yeah. No, this is my first time at DPS. I did get a little lost on the way, but that's all right. All right. So let's say we raised $300 last Friday for the Columbia Kicks cancer team through an ice cream fundraiser, and we will be hosting another one the week after break on Friday, March 4th.
We are also in the process of finalizing potential field trip plans for the spring so that the Student Council can show some appreciation to our members who went above and beyond this year.
And the Students Against Destructive Decisions Club, or SAD for short, is currently hosting a Spirit Week to promote a healthy and drug-free lifestyle. And that's all we have for this week.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great break. All right. Well,
Thank you very much. You
all
guys
right.
too.
Okay, thanks. So we're very pleased to be here this evening at DPS for a special presentation. You can see we're in the gymnasium. We have a lovely athletic turf field, and we're going to turn this portion of the agenda over to Mr. Simons and Mr. Albee.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to invite our principal of Donald P. Sutherland Elementary School, Mr. Jack Elvey, to come forward for a special announcement and dedication. Mr. Elvey.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone here tonight. Welcome back, board. It's been a long time. I had to go back into my Google Calendar, and last time we were here was October 3rd, 2018.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. Usually at this point, Mr. Dunn and I are usually betting on the Yankees and Red Sox, and I usually get a contribution from our backpack program from Mr. Dunn because the Yankees do not fulfill everything that he would like. So it's great to have everyone back here this evening. And tonight is a special night, and I'm actually going to have Mr. Holtz, our physical education teacher, join me for a special presentation. Tonight, we kind of want to talk to you a little bit about how we arrived here and why we have turf in our gymnasium. We also would like to take the time to recognize the groups that supported this initiative. But I'll have Mr. Holtz really take you through where we're at and just some of the processes that we went through. And then at the end, we'd like to welcome up members of our DPS PTO, members of the Columbia Youth Lacrosse Program, as well as from our school district representation as well. We'd like to do a special unveiling and to express our gratitude and thanks. At this time, Mr. Holtz.
Thanks. Okay, so this is definitely a unique thing that we have going here. And it actually, for me, it started probably about 2015. And I remember being in here and I said to Jack, kind of jokingly, but kind of serious, but mostly jokingly, I said, hey, how great would it be to have turf in the gym? And, you know, he kind of laughed a little and nothing really happened with it. But then a couple of years later, 2018, I just had kids getting hurt a lot. They would fall, they would slip, they would wipe out on the hard floor. And I was sending a lot of students to the nurse's office. And I just thought, you know, with turf being as prevalent as it is in the country for facilities, you see athletic training facilities going up everywhere, and turf is always in them. Nobody's putting gym floors in new training facilities. I just thought, can we do that here? And so I went to Jack and I said, listen, I'm not kidding this time. What would you think of having turf in the gym? And he goes, are you serious? And I said, yeah, actually I am. And he said, well, let's do some research and bring me what you have. So I did. So I spent months researching different turf companies. what indoor surfaces are like compared to outdoor surfaces, what it all entails, numbers, prices, styles, types, different companies, how it's done, how it's installed. And we arrived at what we're standing on now. And it has done exactly what I was hoping that it would do. And we've been using this for about 3 weeks now, and I don't have any more injuries. And it's kind of like when you put carpeting in your basement and the kids run down and they have a ball on it. And that's what it's been like as far as the safety component of it. As far as performance, it's a godsend. We can do all of our activities on this, and not only are they safe, but they're more effective. So now I see kids, whatever it is that we're doing, they can perform like they're out on grass. And they can do it without fear, without risking hurting their knees, without risking concussions, without breaking bones. And their performance has increased, their safety has increased, and it's been exactly what I was hoping that it would be. I love it. I come in now and I can't believe that I'm teaching on this. I walk in the morning and I feel like I'm at Aframs, but I'm not. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ours. I get this. I get this. And I'm in heaven. I love it. I just love it so much. And the kids are enjoying it tremendously. And it's something that I still can't believe that we have it, but we do. It took 4 years and it was worth every minute of it. And I'm extremely thankful to have it. I have a few people I definitely want to mention. The process began, first of all, with Jack. And it wouldn't have gone anywhere if I didn't have his support. And it was great. We had a lot of discussions about it, and without his support, it wouldn't have happened. And so he's the main person I need to thank. Right behind him is our former PTO president, Kelly Engel. And Kelly and I had so many conversations about this and regarding fundraising for it and what we can do to raise money for it. And she and I spoke for probably 1.5 years on this project. And she was the ears, her and Kim Simpson as well, were two people that when I would go to PTO meetings, they got to listen to me. So I thank them, because without them, this wouldn't have happened either. And our current PTO, they took over as PTOs change every few years. I thank them, because without them, we wouldn't have had the money to pay for this. So they are a very important part of this as well, and they're excited for it because they get to see their kids on it moving forward. And then the third party I'd like to recognize is the Columbia Lacrosse Club, John Keller, and it's in the back. John and I spoke for a long time about how this can benefit the community and all the positive effects that it can have. And Columbia Lacrosse Club was an integral part of making this happen as well. So we're going to recognize them with what we have on the turf in a little bit, but those are 3 groups that without them, this wouldn't have happened. So
There are a couple things too that, that you don't think about, that once it's in, the noise level, it's amazing. Like, prior to the turf going in, you knew when there were double phys ed classes in the gymnasium, right? It's a whole different atmosphere. And I think, I look at also some of the needs of our kiddos, who have, sensory needs, who struggle with a lot of noise. And this is I think longitudinally, this will have make a big difference in their experience during phys ed. One of the other pieces that was important to me was the flexibility of the turf that we selected. And we chose to go with a company called Dolomer, and they checked every box. And what I mean by that is that it had to be something that was safe, provided extra protection, was durable, but was also mobile too, because at the end of the day, kids are kids, right? We have things that happen. We have, sometimes kids have accidents, sometimes kids throw up, all those components. So we needed something that could be cleaned, moved quickly if needed. during a time where if we needed to, if this is something that we can hose down too. So there were a lot of benefits to this. One of the other pieces is when we look at the wear, right? And we know that in general, when we look at any floor, our own rugs, like Jamie referenced, the middle's always, has more wear than the edges. We have the flexibility, to move our turf around once we start to see some wear established. So it really made sense to go with this particular brand. And I have it right here. I brought out a roll. It's really easy. And it has about an inch pad on it. It really absorbs when the kids fall. Before the meeting, Jamie was telling a story with one of our other phys ed teachers, Jake Preston. He was saying how, just observing the kids, they actually enjoy falling on the turf, so it's like, so it's a nice thing. But again, without everybody's support, we could not make this happen. It was really a great community effort. And, when we really think about what we're about, where we've come over the last, 3 to 4 years with everything that we've all been through, this is what it's about. It takes all of us to, put great things forward for our kids. And this is going to be an incredible resource, not only for our students, but the community as well. We have outside groups, Columbia Lacrosse is in here. We've had Mr. Lucier is already in with soccer. So, it'll be a nice feature for us to have. We know the premium of turf in the area and how challenging it is to, during those off months for our families to, have access to those things for our kids to train. We didn't even get a chance to really talk about the units of study that this will benefit. I think about all the speed and agility that we do here and how that will really be a great asset for those units, within our phys ed program. So again, thank you, Board of Education. Thank you, Columbia Youth Lacrosse, and thank you, PTO, for all of your support. Anything else on your end, Mr. Holtz?
No, I just to tap into what you just said, as far as the units of study, what it allows for too is it allows for really advanced training. And I tend to do a lot of things. Well, I try to be as advanced as possible, but sometimes I'm limited because with a gym floor, it gets really slippery really quickly and it can become dangerous. It does become dangerous. But with this, we can do some really advanced things in here, whether it's just body movement type of stuff that people pay a lot of money to do on their own through private groups. Well, we can do it as part of the program. And I can do that now. And I am doing that now. And that's an exciting thing. And it's something that, we can now, jump on that and keep moving forward with that as time goes on. And then as far as the quality of the mat, what Jack was showing you, if you're not familiar with Dolomer, they are a wrestling mat company. They're the premier wrestling mat company probably in the world. And they formulated this product and it is unique. There is not another type of turf product that mirrors this. So it's essentially grass on top of a wrestling mat. And so that's why it is as safe as it is. Every other indoor turf surface you can get will have a little bit of a pad underneath it. But as you can see on this, it's got some pretty thick foam on the bottom of it. It's essentially a wrestling mat. And, wrestling, it's a tough sport. And if athletes are safe on that, then they're going to be safe on this. So that's part of the reason why we went with it, because of the protective measures it offers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So at this time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite up our special guests. I'd like to invite up from our Board of Education, and I'd like to invite Mr. Buono and Mr. Simons, if you could join us over here at this paper, our high-end paper.
That's been walked on 3 times.
Yeah. Yes, please. I'd like to also invite members of our PTO. If you could join us up here in the center. Past President Kelly Evers. We've got Heather Diorio, one of our teacher reps. We have Beth Laughlin, Ashley, Kim, and Michelle. Come on over here. And over to this area, I'd like to welcome our friends from Columbia Youth Lacrosse. John and Joe, if you could join us over here, that would be great. Now, I was going to have everybody unveil at once, but I heard that Mark Adam does not want it done that way, that he would like it done one at a time. That was the rumor going around the crowd. All right, I just, want to make sure it's a good opportunity for you, Mark. All right, there we go. Absolutely, here we go. Please feel free to take up the paper, all of you work together. So before we conclude, I just want to tell you that Mr. Holt spent his whole weekend here, but he did make it home on time for the Super Bowl. We had templates that we were able to order through all of the generous contributions, and he spent the weekend. He worked with Passano Paints to come up with the paint that would work for our turf. As we're kind of going through and the turf is working in, we're noting that we have to do a few, to continue to paint it until we get it right where it needs to be. But, as much as, and I appreciate him saying that, oh, you came to me. This is him. He is really proud of this, and he's done so much to make this happen for our students in our school community. And I can't begin to express my gratitude, to you, Jamie. You did a great job making this happen for our school community. So thank you. And that concludes our presentation. I know Mr. Adam would like to do a couple pictures, and then I'll see if the board wants to have any questions. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I just want to thank the PTO, the youth lacrosse, the community for being innovative and really doing something different in an elementary school and to provide this opportunity for our students, our community. Does the PTO or any of the lacrosse guys want to say anything at all? No, you're good? All right, we really appreciate your support. As a lacrosse dad, this is something amazing to see and to take advantage of. It's something I wish my kid would be able to do, but this is awesome. It's awesome. So very excited.
Good job. Mike, if so good.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yes, Mr. Dunn.
I just have a comment for Jack. It's great to be back. It's great to see everybody here and try to move this situation forward as best as possible. But I have to address the smack talk earlier in the meeting. So, Mr. Big, let's go to April 7th. This year is the first game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, and it's being held at Yankee Stadium. I wouldn't be seen with the likes of you. But we'll put our familiar wager on the table for the backpack program. I will let you know that he is a good collector. He's like a Westie on collection day, a little New York City reference. And I'm happy to move your backpack program forward at your expense on April 7th. Thank you.
Yeah, just reflecting back on four years ago almost, when we were here and we were with the kids and presentation on with I think it was the Aussie bots and the coding and all that.
That was actually the
Spring?
Actually, our presentation was on the backpack program.
That's right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So great to be back though. Thank you for that presentation. All right, moving to the next part of our agenda, we have two items in the minutes. We have the approval of the minutes for January 26th. All board members were present. Any questions, comments, or revisions to the minutes? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve the minutes. Michelle, second. Jennifer, all those in favor? Opposed? I'm sorry, approved. The February 2nd minutes, all board members were present except for Mr. Dunn and Mr. Yeboah. Any questions, comments, revisions on that? Need a motion to approve the minutes? Joanne, need a second? Michelle, all those in favor? All those abstaining? 2, approved. Next, we have our board forum. We'll start on my left with Cheryl. Anything? Good. Michelle? Good. John? Good. Jennifer, anything? Joanne? Good. And Frank? Kathleen? Good. Okay. Moving to our public forum. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns in the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which can be defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and declared out of order. All comments should be limited to 5 minutes. Does anybody wish to address the board this time? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Kissel from North Greenbush Road. I have one son in the school district, goes to Goff. I'm here to speak for all the parents and students that are against the vaccine mandates for the indoor sports and for masks. I'm not wearing a mask anymore, especially after the Super Bowl, which everybody pretty much saw. 60,000 plus people shoulder to shoulder having a great time. Everybody spilling beer on each other. Nobody had a mask on. All the players didn't have masks on. Everybody wants to keep pretending this is all normal. We have, you know, our noses hanging out of our masks. We're pulling down our masks. We're taking a sip of our drink. We're pretending it's all fine. Nothing's fine about it. And I understand everybody feels like they're doing the right thing and they're abiding by the rules and everything like that. And still haven't gotten a response about any kind of law that's written that says any of us have to do this from the school board. I've asked for that. I understand there's like a directive from the health department and from the governor, but this whole like backdoor kind of thing that they're trying to do through the health department. And it's still not a law. It's not passed by the legislative branches of government. And it just seems arbitrary, which goes along with the mask thing as well. And like, if you go out in town here, if you go to Stewart's, nobody's wearing a mask. You don't need a mask for anywhere anymore but schools. It just seems extremely odd. So I know not a lot of people like to speak out about it or voice their opinions. They might get, you know, flack from the school board or from teachers or friends and family, but it's like somebody has to say something because these kids just throw a mask on. Nobody wants to have an altercation, you know, nobody wants to get in trouble with their teacher because they don't want to put their mask on. The kids can't speak out about it. They'll get suspended in a lot of these schools that you're seeing. And we're even seeing Averill Park is saying, I think after the February break, they're going to test and not require the vaccines for their modified sports or something like that. If I'm not saying it all right, I apologize, but I've heard some talk of that. Or I think their school board meeting was on Monday, possibly Tuesday. But I'm just hoping that we kind of go that direction, or the school board goes that direction, go back to normal. A mask reality is not normal. Having, I don't know if anybody's following, but the health department, I believe they voted today about school nurses giving vaccines in schools. And if anybody's okay with that, I don't understand why you would want to streamline vaccinations in schools. across the state. I don't know how that's going to help education. It's like you have your healthcare and you have your education, two totally separate things that the town shouldn't get involved in your healthcare or your family, in my opinion. And I'm just pretty much tired of like trying to co-parent with the Department of Health, the governor, and the school board when it's not up to anybody but the parents and the students. So thanks for letting me talk and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kissel. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to address the board at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Hennessy.
Can you use the microphone? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Hennessy. I have 2 boys in Red Mill. Actually, I apologize. I have 1 in Goff now.
Okay.
I'm also a part of Red Mill PTO. Tonight is actually my first night of being at the board meeting because
Okay.
I strongly kind of piggyback this gentleman here. I have 2 boys asking me, why is it that we have to go to school now with masks on, Mom? They are extremely frustrated, very confused. They want answers that I certainly can't give them. They now go everywhere without their mask on. They want to play sports, but they don't want to put the mask on. So I'm asking you guys, along with, like I said, piggybacking what he said, we need to take the masks off the kids. I, as a parent, have difficulty explaining to my child and my older one now, they can make decisions for themselves. They want the masks off. They want to see their friends. They want to see their friends' smiles. They want to see their teachers' smiles. They want to see their principal smile. Not just a smile under the mask, because that doesn't work anymore. They want their friendships. They want that interaction with school again. They want the events back. I cannot stress enough, there are so many families I have talked to that their kids are hurting. And I beg you guys to revisit this mask policy because I'm afraid of what this is doing to our kids. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Appreciate the comments from the committee. We do have an item for discussion that we want to talk about a little bit later in regards to this, and I think we'll have a good conversation. Okay. Moving to the next part of our agenda is the reports and presentations of the superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Buno, and I want to thank the public speakers for offering their comments this morning. I want to thank Mr. Alvey and the PTO and the Columbia Youth Lacrosse Program for the field dedication. It's a really nice amenity for our school district, and I'm sure it'll be good opportunities for community groups to use the gymnasium. So 3 meetings ago, we started the process of discussing the school budget for next school year. The budget is typically voted on the 3rd Tuesday in May. Our board, our administration is beginning preliminary planning. We received some good news from the state that our state aid increase will be fairly substantial, which is good news to preserve programs and to keep our costs low for our constituents, taxpayers. One of the larger areas of our budget is our special education program, and we have a very good program. Our special education students who receive services in the district, more than 80% of those students graduate from high school in 4 years, and that is one of the highest percentages of graduation for students with disabilities in New York State. We have great teachers, great service providers within that program, but we wanted to give the board and the community a better idea of the scope of the program, the staffing associated with the program, different types of services that are offered in special education, and the budget, which is in part funded by federal funds, but a large portion of our special education budget is funded through the budget that is approved in May. Molly McGrath is our Director of Pupil Personnel Services. She oversees the special education program, and I'm going to invite Molly to come forward to give a presentation to our board and our community regarding the East Greenbush Central School District special education programs and services. Ms. McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. Simons. Just going to give Peter a moment to pull up the presentation. All right. Mr. Buno, members of the board, thank you for having me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Molly McGrath, Director of Pupil Personnel Services, and I'm here to present on an overview of the Special Education Department. I think it's important to start with our district mission. The East Greenbush Central School District the mission of the East Greenbush Central School District is to make available to all students a safe learning environment that affords academic excellence in all of its programs, provide a dedicated and supportive staff, and work in partnership with family and the community with the intent to set up all students for success with their future endeavors. Most recently, the Special Education Department completed our 5-year program review, where we take the mission of the district and make sure all of our work is aligned back to that. So we created a department-specific mission statement, and I would like to share that with you tonight. The East Greenbush Central School District believes in providing individualized learning and high-quality instruction delivered by a multidisciplinary team of educators. We are committed to promoting collaboration amongst families, the school district, and the community. We are dedicated to maximizing each student's access to educational opportunities in order to develop and prepare each student's independence for a successful transition to learning, living, and working after high school graduation. So who do we serve? This year, we have approximately 653 students with disabilities. A majority of those students attend our 7 buildings in district, and we do send a small percentage of students to 5 different BOCES-operated schools and 10 private schools across the capital region. A quote on the bottom of this slide is really important, that special education is a service, not a place, and you'll see that throughout. Here's a 5-year look back at our classification rate. As I said, we have 653 students with disabilities, which gives us a 16.2% classification rate, which we are below the state, which is 18%, and we're right on track with Rensselaer County Schools, which is also 16%. Special ed is a continuum of service. So per federal and state regulation, we're required to provide service in the least restrictive learning environment, and as students which would be the regular education setting along with their grade level peers, if appropriate. So as you go up the continuum, you might require a little bit more service based on your individual needs. So we offer some part-day special classes. If a student has maybe a weakness in just ELA or math, they can have a special class. We offer one step up the continuum, district-operated full-day special classes. We have 15 special classes, which you may have heard in the past called self-contained, but we like to say full-day special class. And as I mentioned, some of our students attend BOCES-operated programs, and some students do attend a separate setting, schools that specialize in autism, such as Crossroads or Wildwood. And some of our students have more severe and profound needs, and they attend the Center for Disability, or they're residentially placed, and that would be the most restrictive environment. So this visual shows our continuum, and I'm really proud to stand in front of you today and state that we service 94% of our students with disabilities in district. So we offer a ton of great service, and of that group, 85% of our student population spends time in the regular education setting, so we're hitting that least restrictive environment standard. We do have 14% of our group that receive service in a full-day special class, and 5% of our students with disabilities are served in out-of-district programs. Here's an overview at our programs at the K-5 level. We offer consultant teacher services and integrated co-teaching at all 5 buildings at every grade level, with the exception of Belltop right now only has integrated co-teaching at grades 3 through 5, And that was based on student need. And we recognize that next year, we'd like to expand that to be able to offer integrated co-teaching at the K2 level to keep students in their home zone and able to access those services in the least restrictive environment. We have some full-day special classes. Our language concepts classrooms are housed at Green Meadow, which flow into Belltop. We have language concepts at Janae, K through 5. We also offer a communication skills class here at DPS that feeds into the Red Mill 3 to 5 program. And Green Meadow houses our K through 5 transitions program, and that supports students with more social, emotional, and behavioral needs. Here's a look at the secondary level, the programs that we offer. We offer indirect and direct consultant teacher services at both Goff and Columbia. We offer instructional support periods, primary instruction and curriculum equivalent. Again, that's that part-day special class if you need just a special class in one subject area. And then we have academic skills at both levels. The middle school has a transitions program, and our high school has a life skills program. CTAP is located up there. It is not a special education program, but students with disabilities are able to attend if they need that program. We offer related services, K through 12, which are speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, counseling, and a few students receive orientation and mobility, teacher of the visually impaired, and teacher of the deaf, and we contract with BOCES for those services. So I'd like to share tonight how we're structured to do the work that we do. So here's an organization chart of our office. I'm the director. Kara Harrington is our assistant director, and we oversee district registration in addition to special education, and we have 2 secretaries that assist us both with the K-12 special education and CPSE, which is the Committee on Preschool Special Education. So in addition to special education, PPS oversees health services, which are our school nurses. As I mentioned, preschool special education, McKinney-Vento, which is the federal regulation on any student or family experiencing homelessness. CTAP, any student who has a 504 accommodation plan, that comes out of our office. And there's a great deal of state reporting that we're required to do. We also are responsible for the federal IDEA grant, which Linda will talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. Contracted services, purchasing for our department. We want to make sure all of our students have exactly what they need. And Kara and I do APPR for special education teachers at the secondary level. So here's a look at our wonderful department. We have 58 special education teachers across our 7 buildings. So these are their names, the grade levels that they teach or support. And the next slide shows our related service providers and support staff. So we have 9 school counselors split between Goff and Columbia. We have 12 social workers district-wide, 7.4 school psychologists, 10 speech therapists, 4 occupational therapists, 2 physical therapists, and 11 school nurses. So our department is 113 total. So I thought I would share with you just a little bit about the process. How does a student get to receive service? It starts with a referral, and a referral can be made by a parent or a school team expressing a concern and requesting an evaluation in writing. So once we receive that referral, we have 60 days to complete an evaluation. And that evaluation is led by our school psychologist and includes components based on the area of concern. It might include a speech and language evaluation, OT or PT. Our nurses complete a health history. Our counselors complete a social history. We get together as a multidisciplinary team. We look at the evaluation and we make a determination. Is the student eligible for services? Do they meet the criteria for a school age disability? If so, under what classification? There's 13 that we can choose from. And then we develop an IEP, an individualized education plan. We talk about what programs and services would be appropriate, thinking about the least restrictive environment. And then we design our instruction to meet that student's individual need. And per regulation, we're required to meet on that student annually. So every single student who receives services, we have a meeting to review the student's progress and make any adjustments to the plan. Every 3 years, we're required to do another evaluation, which is called the reevaluation. So we're on a 3-year cycle where we do this whole process again to make sure the student is still eligible for service and determine what that service needs to look like. I think it's important to share that we are also responsible for our district residents who are ages 2, 3, and 4 who receive early intervention and preschool services through the county. Kara and I coordinate all of that service, and we also chair their meetings. So there's a great deal of procedural requirements when it comes to special education. So here's a little timeline. When we do receive a referral, our office has 10 days to generate consent to the family requesting to complete the evaluation. That's when we receive consent back, starts that 60-day clock. So we have 60 days to complete the evaluation. We come together as a team, determine if they're eligible for service. If so, we have 2 weeks to develop the IEP. And every board meeting, you see those services come through. And that's what you guys are approving, is the services and the plan that we propose. We get board support, and then we finalize the plan. So then we have 30 days to get the plan back to the parents. And we seek consent again to start implementing those services to make sure the parent agrees with our plan. And it comes with what we call a prior written notice, which documents everything that happened up until that plan, as well as offers the parents their rights. So here's a look at the amount of meetings that this is all this kind of compliance stuff is happening for hundreds of students at a time. We meet on 653 of our students annually. We also chair 83 preschool meetings annually. Last year, in the 2021 school year, we had 125 new referrals to the Committee on Special Education. And most of those were parent-driven. Our parents got really involved when students were home on hybrid and remote, and they had some concerns. So we did a lot of evaluating last year. Like I mentioned, we meet on students every 3 years. So approximately a third of our students require that reevaluation meeting, which was 216 reevaluation meetings. And we're also responsible for services in our private schools, which are Holy Spirit and Woodland Hill. So that was 24 meetings. So last year we chaired over 1,000 meetings. In addition to chairing meetings, there's a heavy compliance factor to special education. So the state sets a really high standard. Students with disabilities are a protected class of citizen, and we want to make sure we're giving them our best. So these 17 indicators that you see tonight is the state's way to make sure school districts are checking in on important things like graduation rate. Mr. Simons, it's 84%, which we're really, really proud of.
80 because I didn't want to get the number exactly wrong. I know it was
Yes.
higher than that, though.
So our students with disabilities have an 84% graduation rate. We're super proud of that.
Very good.
It's one of the highest in the state.
Yes.
But they're checking in on us to make sure that we are not over-classifying any certain race or ethnicity, that we're not over-suspending our students with disabilities, that we are providing service in the least restrictive environment, that we're having timely evaluations, and we're hitting all those checkpoints. Last year, we were responsible for indicator 13 and 14, and the state checks in on us. How are you doing with your high schoolers with students with disabilities? Do they have transition plans? And how are they doing after high school? So we're still under review, but we're feeling good about that one. I will turn it over. Oh, there's Linda. I was looking for you over there. So Mrs. Wager will talk about the finance side of the house.
Thank you, Molly. As you can see, there are many programs and services that fall under the special education budget and office. So I wanted to provide to you tonight some information on how and where we budget for these services, and then how we match the revenues to these services. So this provides a 5-year look back at the budget for special education. The one thing I did want to note tonight is that in the 2021-2022 line item under general fund budget, I included there the benefits that go along with the salaries. Those are not typically included in the budget, but I did want to show you what a difference that makes. So this year, the general fund budget accounts for $18.8 million for the special aid services and programs. Then we have the federal funds, which are the IDEA Section 611 and 619 grants. We receive an allocation for that every year. So I have to get a little closer because I didn't bring my glasses. So as you can tell, the total budget is $19.8 million for this year. Of that 18, oops, I think I turned that off. Of the $18.8 million in the general fund budget this year, $10.8 million of that is to cover salaries. So that's for all of the staff and the service providers. I added to that the benefits that go along with it, which include FICA and TRS, ERS, and our health and dental insurance. So of that $18.8 million, $15.5 million is for staff, salaries, and benefits for the services we provide. So how do we match the revenues to that? We receive revenues in several sources. We receive state aid, we receive foundation aid per student, as well as excess cost aid for special aid students. That accounts for $8.5 million. As I talked about earlier, the federal grants, the Section 611 and 619 grants are just over $1 million. We receive Medicaid reimbursement for certain costs for special ed. That's $200,000. And the lion's share of the services is provided by the local share for the taxpayers. Are there any questions on the finances?
Linda, when
Okay.
is the aid received? Is that current year or is it
I'm sorry?
the aid on the special education?
Yeah, the aid that I'm indicating this year, that 8.5 is the aid that we're receiving this year, and it is based on last year's expenses. I'm going to turn it back over to Molly for some future look.
Thank you. Is this on? Thank you, Linda. So where are we going? I said we completed our 5-year program review, and there was a lot of needs and recommendations, and I just want to share some priorities that came out of the review. We would like to pursue a district-wide social emotional program. We recognize that our students are struggling social emotionally, and we want to help them prevent the need for special education services. We'd like to do some program development, exploring a K-5 resource room. We would also like to ensure there's consistency with our services. We're a very large district, 7 buildings. So we want to make sure what integrated co-teaching looks like in second grade at Belltop is the same as second grade at DPS, and that our students have equal access. We would like to advance the use of assistive technology. The pandemic has taught us that there's a ton of technology out there that can support our students with disabilities, but the way we're structured right now, it's really hard to get that technology into our teachers, providers, and our students' hands and help them learn how to use it. We'd like to offer professional development both to our special education team and our general education team on how to best support our students with disabilities. And we'd also like to expand our life skills program, which is at the high school. We currently offer a life skills classroom, which is a 12-1-2, 12 students, 1 teacher, 2 teaching assistants. And our students age up from Goff Middle School, and they enter in 9th grade, and they're eligible to stay until they're 21. And they spend 7 years in one classroom. So we really want to do some work there. Next year, there's 17 students projected for that program. So we're recognizing that we need to split that level and develop a new program. So we've developed some goals for the next school year. We would like to actively participate in special ed program development. We're really, really great, but we know we can be better. And we would like to support building teams and special ed teachers in the classroom. We would like to have increased opportunities to support any issues that a family or school team might bring up. Kara and I are realistically in meetings all the time, like you saw, so it's hard to get out there and get our boots on the ground and help the students and families. So we would also like to support any social emotional learning initiatives, as well as the professional development I mentioned. So if given the opportunity, we would like to add a CSE chairperson to our department to help assist in chairing those meetings and support other compliance issues related to Part 200 regulations. So we thank you for your support for our department, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Melanie. Any comments, questions, board members?
So Molly, thank you very much. It was very good. Can you tell me what the normal evaluation rate was before COVID? So it's 125 last year. What's a normal year?
I would have to look back. We have spreadsheets upon
Yep.
spreadsheets to track those things. I just don't have the number.
But
up.
you saw a spike or?
Yes,
You definitely saw a spike. Okay.
yes.
And then of the goals that you're looking for, are some of these able to be covered by the federal grant, or did we kind of allocate all that? You know, if there's any kind of financial impact on the goals, and we can talk about that.
We're still looking at the federal grant, so we're not sure what the division will be between this, the district budget and the federal grant. We're still having those discussions.
At our next board meeting, I plan to provide you with a report as to where we are with our 2 federal grants, the Carissa and the American Rescue Plan, and where we may be able to shift money and revisit some of those programs and what do we want to do moving forward.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Molly. And I know that the East Greenbush Central School District Special Education Department is one of the best in the region. And under your leadership and with Kara and others in the team, all the members you mentioned, the staff, do a great job in supporting our students. So thank you very much, everyone, for that. So it's a tremendous program. And if you get a chance to kind of go into the programs, go into the buildings, I always like to seek out those classrooms and see what's happening there. So it's great stuff. Great stuff. Anything else, Mr. Simons, on the special ed comments?
No, I just want to congratulate Molly and Linda on an exceptional presentation. You did a nice job.
Thank you, yes. All right, next item.
Each year and every year for several years now, the New York State Comptroller's Office has issued a report which monitors the fiscal stress that districts are facing. Several years ago, when the state aid situation was very poor and the state was experiencing large deficits, this process was used by the New York State Comptroller to identify districts that were at risk of really fiscal or educational insolvency. Each year we receive this report, our district has received favorable indicators that we are a stable district fiscally. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Wager to briefly explain what this report shows. It's something that is a product of the board, the administration, and the entire community working together to recognize that the long-term stability of the district in terms of setting aside fiscal resources is critically important to maintaining student services. Mrs. Wager?
Thank you, Mr. Simons. So back in 2013, the New York State Comptroller's Office implemented this statewide fiscal monitoring system that was so that taxpayers and local municipalities could identify whether there was going to be financial or economic challenges and hopefully address them before they became a crisis. So before I go into our scores for this year, there is 2 levels of scoring. One is the fiscal stress score, and the other is the environmental stress score. And with that, they score these factors, and then they give a stress level designation. There are 3 stress level designations. The first is significant fiscal stress. The second is moderate fiscal stress or no designation. And I just want to note that no designation is the best designation that can be achieved. So I'm happy to report that this year, for 2021, as of December 31st, 2021, we received a fiscal stress score of 0.0% with a stress level designation of no designation, and an environmental stress score of 0.0% with a stress level designation of no designation. That's really the best that we can hope to achieve. Some of the criteria that is considered in the fiscal stress score, it looks at the year-end fund balance, it looks at our operating deficits, our cash position, and our reliance on short-term cash flow debt. The environmental factors include poverty, class size, teacher turnover, tax base, the budget support, and the percent of our English language learners. So this is really a very positive report. It's very similar to what we received in 2020. So we're quite proud of this. Are there any questions?
Board members, any questions, comments?
No, great. You can't get better than 0.
Right.
That's right.
Right, thank you.
And I think this also helps us with our long-range planning. You also see how the district and prior boards and administration have worked very hard to make sure that the district is fiscally sound, very careful about its spending, putting the resources where they're needed, even in some of those very difficult times that we face, the structure and with the board's leadership and the support of the administration, making sure that the district stays very well positioned fiscally to support our school community and our students and families and staff. So excellent job, excellent report. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving next to our discussion item, we have one discussion item related to update on COVID protocols. I know there's a lot going on about masks and testing and things like that. And Mr. Simons, can you introduce the topic and kind of lead us in the direction to
Sure.
have a conversation?
So I want to start on a positive note. Today was the first day in quite some time where we reported in New York State 0 COVID cases among students and 0 COVID cases among staff. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it will continue to trend at 0, but the level of infection rate is low within the district and low within Rensselaer County right now. Just a few weeks ago, it was 20% or higher coming off of the holiday recess, and now we are at about 4% in Rensselaer County, and again, we reported no cases today. So that's something to celebrate, because we have been working together on these protocols really since the spring of 2020. As we respond to the fact that the situation is getting better, we are hearing from more parents about the mask requirement. It was just a couple weeks ago, actually less than a couple weeks ago, that the governor announced that the mask requirement would be suspended for the general public, but in certain settings, including schools and healthcare settings and other settings, the masks would still be required. All of the school districts in New York State are still subject to this requirement, but Governor Hochul has announced that she will be making a determination soon after the February break. We don't know the basis upon which she will make that determination. We know that the state and the governor have distributed large numbers of tests, at-home test kits, to our schools. Just within the last 2 weeks, Questar BOCES has received thousands of kits to distribute to the school district. So today, we sent home a letter based on what the governor was talking about during her press conference, that she is encouraging, we're not requiring, she is encouraging families to test their students before they return to school after the February break. And we have these at-home tests available, so we are sending them out to the families. Schools will not be collecting that data, other than if a parent tests their child and they're positive. We follow the same protocol that we've been following for quite some time. We ask the parents to report that result to the nurse and to have the children stay home if they test positive. We have the same expectations for our employees. We recognize that people are tired of this. I'm tired of it. We've been doing this for 2 years. We're hopeful that the governor, after the February break, will give us a date at which we can no longer require the masks. That doesn't mean that if a student, a parent, an employee feels more comfortable, or for various reasons they want to continue to wear the mask, we would hope that they could wear the mask. But in order to make that decision, I need to consult with the board. I need to consult with the employees. I need to get feedback from the parents, and I appreciate those that are coming to provide that feedback. And we need to make sure that we understand what the state is going to require of us. It may not be a simple flick of a switch on a Friday and say, on Monday, you no longer have to wear the mask. We don't know. For 2 years now, we've tried to be faithful to the state requirements. The state requires us to do something, we do it. It doesn't mean that we've always agreed with the state requirements. It doesn't mean that we've always understood the state requirements. In some cases, we would ask 3 different attorneys what the guidance meant, and we would get 3 different answers. Then we would go to the county and would ask the county, do you know what this means? They said, we're just hearing about it from you. They never heard about it from the state. So We have been interpreting guidance, implementing guidance, and working with an intent simply to keep our schools open. So when we talk about what might happen after February break, my inclination is that things are getting better and that we should provide flexibility regarding the masks. But I have to have the stakeholders fully weigh in on this decision, and they have to know what the state's thinking is, and I don't know what the state's thinking is right now.
Mhm.
So we just have to wait on that. It doesn't mean that we are not heading towards a better day regarding COVID-19 protocols and loosening up and making the situation better. The other thing I want to comment on, there have been a couple public speakers who have come the last couple of board meetings and talked about the vaccine requirement for winter high-risk sports. We put that in place based on the guidance that was available at the time from the CDC, from the New York State Department of Health, and from the State Education Department. That said, if you are living and schooling in a community that is classified by the CDC as having a high risk infection rate, you should consider canceling high-risk sports, going virtual, or ensuring that all students who participate are vaccinated. At the time that guidance came out, we were dealing with the Delta variant. We weren't dealing with this variant Omicron, which spreads much faster and in most cases has less serious symptoms for most people. So given the information at the time, given the guidance that was available at the time, our district interpreted that as a state requirement. And so again, we followed the state requirement. It was not an easy decision to make, but the majority of the board supported my recommendation. At the last couple of meetings, I have announced that for spring sports, including those that are high risk because boys lacrosse is classified by New York State, not by Jeff Simons, not by the East Greenbush Central School District, as a high risk sport. For even those sports, we will not be requiring the vaccination. Because those sports are outside, we're dealing with a different variant, the guidance has shifted, and the number of cases have gone down. So that's in the past. We made that decision based on the best information that was available at the time. But as we move towards spring sports, that will not be a requirement. Today, we sent out the registration information through Family ID for kids to sign up for spring sports. There should be no mention in those packets of information regarding the COVID-19 vaccination. And we made sure that it wasn't there. So with all this being said, we'll see what the state decides. We'll see upon what criteria they're basing that decision. We're hoping that we will have flexibility at the local level. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Mhm. Very good. Any comments or questions, board members? I'd like to weigh in on the topic at this point. John?
Thank you for that conversation. Thanks to the folks that speak here publicly. I guess we have to ask ourselves the question, what are we going to do? Number one, when the state does issue, we need to have a plan and a plan of action.
Mhm.
I personally think it should be a priority. I think that we should be ready to hit the ground if possible. And I understand there's a lot of hoops because of the waffling information that we get from the state. I cannot disagree with Mr. Kissel and what we saw over the Super Bowl.
It's true.
What we're seeing in New York State, the inconsistent messaging, the lack of empathy for our children on the state level is quite honestly appalling to me. And the only thing I can say to our constituency is that we need to be decisive and have a plan in place for the appropriate time. And if for some reason we need to have a conversation amongst ourselves, if the state does not move forward with a plan that is acceptable to our community, we need to have a plan in place how to combat that as well.
Mhm.
whether, and again, I really don't know what our options are. I wish I had the answer. But I can tell everyone in this room, I have written the governor, I've written all my legislators, and I encourage anybody to do that for them to really make it known that what we're seeing state to state, county by county is not acceptable to the people of East Greenbush.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that conversation, and I'm looking forward to committing to our community to get us back to a reasonable standard to move this ball forward. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else care to comment? Kathleen, Jennifer? Jennifer, go ahead.
I agree. I agree with John as well. I think we're all sick of talking about masks. I know I certainly am. And I'm hopeful that we'll get some guidance in early March to remove the masks from our children. And if we do not get that or do not get the expected result, I think we need to discuss how we would proceed.
Yep.
And I wanted to also thank those that came to speak about the issue. I know there aren't a lot that come out to these meetings, so thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Cheryl? Yep.
Yeah. I agree. We need to make a decision because I'm done with the mask.
Okay.
I'm against mandates. So,
Yep.
so everyone knows that.
So we're at the point where, Mr. Simons talked about the testing. That was something, again, the lack of consistency amongst the state levels to provide support to the school districts. All you heard was a couple of things at a press conference, and it was left up to the districts to decide what to do and how to implement that. And thousands and thousands of tests show up regionally, and with no real guidance on what you're supposed to do with these tests, other than really the region through Questar and the collaboration of the superintendents to talk about what's the best way to do what the governor is trying to tell us to do so we can do the things that I guess she's asking so we can evaluate or they can evaluate and make a good decision for the community. But I do agree and support the comments of Jennifer and John, and a lot of heads are nodding up and down here that we need to really make a decision after the break if we're not going to get the right guidance or the guidance that we hope to get regarding the mask mandates for kids. And also, going out in the community, you see what's happening. You mentioned the Super Bowl. You mentioned, going out and around about. It's really been difficult, I think, for people to manage when there's that inconsistency between school and outside of school, and it's very frustrating. And I can recognize that too. I'm in that same camp. But we're almost there, and I think this board and this community will have to make some real hard decisions in the coming week or two about what's happening. So,
And I just want to add back to what John said. It's really important that we're advocating to the governor and all those guys
Yep.
to get us clear directions. For 2 years, you guys have been 1 minute, one answer, the next minute another.
mhm.
We really need them to get together and have a conversation about it. So we have some guidance of what's allowed and what's not allowed. So please, anybody that wants to, push, advocate to those people as well to make clarity.
Yep. And it's not just the students, it's the families, it's the staff. Everyone needs to be involved in this process. There's a lot of stakeholders in a district of this size with, 4,000 students, a large geographic area, 800 plus employees. It impacts a lot of people. So it's got to be what's right for us as a community. And, I'm always looking forward to the time where we can remove these as well.
The only thing I want to add, and I appreciate the board members recognizing that we're going to have to make the decision in a timely manner. One of the things that we talk about a lot in our schools, we talk about at the board level, is making sure that we have an inclusive, welcoming, and supportive environment for all children. So if we do move to a situation where there's choice involved, and
Choice, yeah.
kids can wear masks if they want to, adults can wear masks if they want to, and they feel that that's the best decision for them, and children and families and employees feel that they don't want to wear the masks, that's all okay. And we want to have an environment where that is respected among the students. And we want to have an environment where those individual choices are respected among our employees and within our community. So if kids come back to school after February break and there's a period of time where some kids are coming into class with masks and some kids are going down the hallway with masks and some kids don't have masks, we want everybody to think that that's great because we're honoring and we're respecting individuality, we're respecting choice, and we're respecting our ability to be able to be in a safe and inclusive environment. We don't want to pit those kids as families that want to wear masks against those families that don't want to wear masks. That's not what we're about. We're about an educational community that welcomes, supports, and celebrates everybody. I say that now because we know that this is a contentious issue about the mask. But when we bring everybody back together after school, after February break, if we say we're all about choice and we say we're all about inclusion and we're all about acceptance, then these masks, whether you're wearing them or not, have to be a part of that. And that's a conversation we had with our principals today.
I'm glad you're having those conversations. You know, it's been a long journey. You think about where we were and what we had to do way back when with a lot of the unknowns. So you have to really look at the continuum of, you know, had to go hybrid. We were remote, hybrid. We're in person. We haven't closed at all this year, which is great testimony to the parents and the staff and the kids to stick with it and do the things we needed to do. And we're almost there where I think we'll be in a place where, again, it's going to be up to us to take a look at that as a community and make those decisions. So thank you for those comments. Any other closing comments, board members, about this topic? All right, thank you. Moving on to our board agenda under regular business, approval of programs for resident children with disabilities, something Molly mentioned earlier about the agenda item always being a standing item. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve that. Frank, I need a second. Cheryl, all those in favor? Approved. Internal audit payroll, looks like it was a pretty good audit, some very minor findings. Linda, any comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Buono. Each year, our internal auditor provides an audit of payroll, cash, risk assessment. This is the audit of the payroll from July 1, 2020 through June 30th of 2021. He selected 35 records of employees. 27 were hired last year and 8 were previously hired to that. There were no material exceptions, no findings. There were some comments that he provided to us, some I-9 forms. There was an I-9 form that was missing, and there was a state withholding form that we could not locate, and one that the withholding status was missing from it. So we have corrected those items moving forward. We've attached a corrective action plan for your review, and we will submit these to SED.
Hey, Linda, any questions for Linda? Very good. So resolution to approve and accept the audit. Need a motion for that. Michelle, a second. Joanne, all those in favor? Approved. Health and Welfare Services contract with the Bethlehem Central School District. Questions or comments? Need a motion to approve that. Cheryl, second. Joanne, all those in favor? Approved. Next, we have an MOA with the SRP staff. This is a memorandum that regards to the stipend for our staff nurses for the point of care testing. Any questions or comments on the MOA? Need a motion to approve that. Frank, I need a second. John, all those in favor? Approved. Next on the agenda is our committee reports. Marissa.
Thank you, Mr. Buono. We are currently continuing our recruitment efforts for our 8 vacant bus driver positions. As of now, we've identified 4 candidates who have successfully moved through the first round of interviews. Those 4 individuals are currently working on the trainings that they need to take and pass in order to get their permit. So we continue to have outreach to those 4 candidates to make sure that they're successful in that process. We are getting our school bus driver hiring committee back together again on Friday, February 25th to conduct more interviews. We have a school social worker position at Goff Middle School as a result of a resignation in January. We have reposted that position. That posting will close on March 7th. We currently have vacant teaching assistant positions that need to be filled at the secondary level. Jill Barker held initial interviews for the full-time and part-time position at Goff. Candidates have been selected to move up to a final round of interviews with myself and Mrs. McGrath following the February recess. And we are currently recruiting for a part-time teaching assistant at Columbia High School, and that position is currently posted. We have 4 monitor vacancies in our elementary buildings. 2 are at Belltop Elementary, 1 at Janae, and 1 at DPS. We have our Green Meadow nurse retiring in April of this year. That posting has closed, and we are working on getting a building level committee together to hold interviews following the February recess. Our Director of Athletics posting closes on March 1st, and we are currently in the interview process for the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and we'll have an update to provide at our next board meeting regarding that. The next topic I want to talk about is our calendar committee. We held our second meeting on February 7th, and we do have a calendar we would like to propose to the Board of Education at the March 9th meeting.
Did it?
Any questions?
Questions from Marissa? So that will be a draft calendar we see.
Yes, it'll be a
Okay.
draft.
All right. Thank you, Marissa. Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Buno. On Monday evening, we held a Health Insurance Review Committee meeting. We had a guest from Hampshire Insurance, Mr. Chris Knopf. He presented us with information on the transition to the Highmark prescription formulary, which will take place on July 1st of 2022. Change is difficult, but this is a change that is coming. And overall, I think it's going to be a positive change. Currently, Highmark serves 6 million members, whereas Blue Shield served 500,000. So we expect better purchasing power, greater discounts on generic drugs. Members will see very little change. They can still mail order for their drugs. They'll be able to get 3 months supply at a pharmacy, which some are not able to do that now. The pharmacy benefit manager, which is Express Scripts, will remain the same, and the copays will remain the same. So this is something that's going to take place effective July 1. So in April, the district will be sending out a letter to all members, notifying them of this change. And it's really because every member is going to receive a new card in the mail, and we don't want that thrown out. So we will be notifying everyone in April of this upcoming change. There may be some members, very few members, that will be affected, that will require prior authorization. Individual letters will go to those people as well as to their doctors at the same time. That target date is May 1, so they have plenty of time to make that change. It only has to be done once. They'll have plenty of time to do that by July 1st. And there is a small number of members that will receive a letter regarding there are quantity limits on some of the prescriptions. So they will receive information about that. So in April and May, there'll be correspondence going out. I encourage everyone, if you see anything coming from Highmark or from the district, please don't just throw it away. Take the time to read it.
Yep.
And in March, we do expect to hear from Hampshire Insurance, and they're going to provide a list of drugs that may be changing tiers, whether they're going from tier 2 to tier 3 or 3 to 2. So we'll get that information out as well.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda? Yeah, Highmark's a
you.
big company. They took over quite a bit. Highmark is a big company, and it's a,
It is.
hopefully that purchasing
It's a
power
national
will help,
company.
will help with the costs for our members. Jim, anything?
No community reports.
No committee reports from Jim and Jeff?
No committee reports.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the agenda item table motions, I have none at this time. Old business, board members, anything that you want to bring up? Yeah. I'm trying to remember you on the screen there, Kathleen, so. I'm not ignoring you. All right, consent agenda. We have consent items A through I. Any questions, comments, or changes?
Can I pull back from,
Okay, we want to pull
C?
item C for a separate vote. Okay, and any other questions or comments on items A through I with the exception of C? Need a motion to approve that? Joanne, need a second? John, all those in favor? Approved. Item C, any questions or comments on that? Need a motion? John, I need a second. Jennifer, all those in favor? All those abstaining? One, that's approved. Addendums, we have nothing at this time. New business? Board members, anything? No? Okay. Is there a second public forum? Anyone wish to address the board? Yes, Mr. Grignan.
Good evening, Wayne Grignon, Principal of Janae Elementary School. I just want to give a shout out to our art department in the district for doing a wonderful job supporting the East Greenbush town on the art project that many of our students participated in across the district for the American sculpture that was going to be featured on a US postal stamp. Our students did a wonderful job, so I wanted to recognize the art department and our district who always does a wonderful job. I also want to give a shout out to the Janae Student Council for the Super Bowl, who raised over 1,500 cans that will be donated to Concerned Jew this coming week. And then I also wanted to invite the board to our virtual Read Across America readathon that we're going to be doing on March 2nd at Janae. Kickoff will start this Friday with our students. And if we're also going to be sponsoring and supporting the Ronald McDonald House like we have in the previous years. And if students meet their goal total, they have picked for the principal to kiss a pig in front of the school. So we'll make
That's
sure to
funny.
take pictures and get that ready for everyone, because I'm sure that they will be eager to participate in that goal.
How do you sign up for that?
To sign up for kissing a pig?
To see you kiss a pig.
Oh, you just have to read.
Okay, very good. Well,
We'll get
I'll
to
start
sign
reading
up
as soon
sheet.
as I get home tonight, Mr.
So
Grignon.
thank you very much.
I can't wait to see that.
Thank you for that update, Mr. Grignan. Very interesting. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I'll move to the board forum. I'll start virtually with Kathleen. Anything? Thank you. Frank, anything? No. Joanne? Jennifer? No. John's good. Michelle? Good. Cheryl? I just want to say, if you go to the item on our, we have some very significant retirements this year. I usually rely on Joanne to recognize those folks, but Ms. Lavoie, Ms. McDonald, and Donna Marie, who's been, she taught all my kids, and she's been just wonderful. And I just want to thank, the staff's years of service there is incredible. Ms. Lavoie will be a big miss for the music department, and we really appreciate all the work that all of them have done as they move on to this next phase in their lives and careers. And hopefully they'll come back and share some more of those things as a substitutes or other folks and help with the community. So just want to recognize them for that. So with that, we do have a need for an executive session for purpose of contractual and personnel items. Also regarding litigation pending in Rensselaer County State Supreme Court, assigned to index number EF2020-266807. We do expect to come back to the public forum or the public session after the executive session. We will have business to attend to. But with that, I do need a motion to move into executive session. Joanne, I need a second. Frank, all those in favor? Approved. So that we'll move to whereabouts, Mr. Alvey?
I think we're going to stay in here so Kathleen can participate with technology.
Okay, so we'll
That's
stay
it.
here in this. So thank everyone. I appreciate your attendance tonight. Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Alvey, and everything looks terrific here. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night.